Hi, everyone. It's Monday, January 11th, 2021, and you're watching episode 57 of Yield TV. Hey, welcome back. It's Monday, and we're kicking off the week with a really bloody day in the markets. But luckily in DeFi, I think there's so much going on that we can focus on better things, one of which is going to be how to master gas prices. So every Monday, we'll be doing this DeFi class segment. The idea is to focus on everything from fundamental topics like how to bid on gas prices to more advanced topics like how to trade options with on-chain custodial options, like we did last week with the Open team. So actually, we can just kick right off into this. If you have questions along the way, if you join us at tv.zapper.fi, you can ask questions there in the comments, and I'll try to get to them. This is only the second time I've done this, so forgive me. I might be fumbling through some of this a bit. And let's see here. Let me go ahead and just show you what we're going to cover here today. Actually, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and just tweet out the link to this just so other folks know about it and can join. So here we go. Copy and paste. There we go. All right. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and get right into the lesson. So here's what we're going to cover today. Here we go. So we'll cover what is gas and why does it matter, then how to bid on gas prices with transactions, how to drop replace transactions, ways to spend less gas in DeFi. And then I just want to talk a bit about what's already there and what's coming with apps and Layer 2. There are applications already like loop ring DEX that you can trade on Layer 2, which means that you can trade for pennies per transaction. And those transactions, at least for the user, it appears that they settle within milliseconds. And it's just fantastic. It feels like you're using a centralized exchange, except you're still totally in control of your assets. So let's talk first about what is gas and why does it matter. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's go to this one. Okay, so first off, what's gas? Fortunately, I wrote up a little thread the other day about this. And so gas represents how much ETH you're willing to pay per gas, which just means that we are bidding against everyone else that's trying to confirm transactions on the Ethereum network. And so this is where the whole meme of ETH is money actually comes from. You are bidding how much ETH, so here we go, how much ETH you're willing to pay per gas, and you specify the gas price in GUI. So this is where the importance of tracking what is the gas price comes from, because the total fee that we pay is gas price times the amount of gas you use. Now, for simpler sorts of transactions like sending Ether from one wallet to another, it's very inexpensive. It doesn't require a lot of gas. And so regardless of the gas price, it's fairly inexpensive. I think it's the cheapest thing that you can do on Ethereum. When you send certain ERC20 tokens, it can cost a bit more. And then when you're using smart contract applications, it costs that much more. That's why when you deposit into Curve, into one of the liquidity provisions, there's a lot of magic that happens under the hood there. And so those become more costly transactions. So let me go back here a sec. All right, so we just covered what is gas, and I guess really why does it matter? Why does it matter? It matters how quickly your transaction is confirmed. Now, I want to clarify that if I am, actually, let's hop into Zapper here so I can show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. Share my screen again. Here we go. Okay, so if I hop into the Invest tab, there's a number of opportunities here. Like, let's say I want to become a liquidity provider in the wrapped Bitcoin Ether pool. Now, this is something that may require me to actually trade some assets. So let's say I'm starting with Ether. Oops, let's do 0.5. If that Ether in this Zap is going to be swapped into 50% wrapped Bitcoin, that's a trade. So a trade is going to happen under the hood for me when I execute this. When I do anything that relates to trades, something like this, or I think more obviously, something like a DEX aggregator, like let's say I was going to trade some Ether for the 1-inch token. If I go to trade this, it's very important I can get the transaction through before the market rate changes. And this is why a lot of transactions fail when prices go up like they have today, up to around 500 Gwei and higher. That is a risk. So, and you can see here, by the way, this updates with the gasnow.org API. This updates every few seconds. So this is constantly fluctuating. If I bid too low of a gas price, like let's say I bid right now 463. So you can see it right here. So now it went up to 501. So these gas prices are fluctuating a lot, and the market rate, the rate between ETH and 1-inch here, is also changing. So what happens if I bid too low and my transaction is now stuck? I'm basically not bidding a high enough gas price to get my trade through. It means now I'm at risk of this rate changing, which we all know happens constantly. You'll see buyers and sellers, continually coming to a different agreement on where that price should be. And if they're doing that and the price changes enough while I'm still waiting for my transaction to confirm, my transaction can fail and I can lose what were the estimated gas fees. So that's one of the worst things that can happen. And that's why I avoid trading on days like this. It's not something I aim to do in DeFi unless I'm willing to pay 702 Gwei. So let's go back here to the agenda. Oop, here we go. Sorry, I'm just pulling this up in the background. Okay, so we covered a bit of what is gas, why does it matter? Let's talk about how to actually bid on gas prices. So let's go back. Let's go back to the Zapper dashboard. Here is exactly how I do all of my transactions. This is what I do anytime I'm going to be confirming something through MetaMask. If I'm going to, let's say in this case, exchange or trade 0.5 ETH for some 1-inch, once I hit exchange, and actually let me see if I can reshare so you can see that MetaMask transaction. Here we go. Application window. Here we go. Let's try this instead. Okay, there we go. All right, so you can now see here under MetaMask the transaction that I put in. It's showing me that the gas price, and this is the gas price that I set in Zapper using my settings here under Select Gas Setting. This is something that's popular in a lot of other DeFi applications, and sometimes you don't even get these choices. It'll plug it in for you. You should never, ever trust this unless you intentionally set your gas settings like I have here. So I look at this and I always double check gasnow.org. Now, if I'm on Zapper, this is in sync with gasnow.org. But if I'm using any other DeFi application, I go here to gasnow.org and I double check what's happening here. And I pull up the transaction and I do not confirm until I am certain that's the gas price I want to pay. And you notice there's a little orange line here that's basically counting down until the next estimated gas prices. So you can see there's 15 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, and 10 minutes. But the prices are changing here constantly. So 610 would get us through in 15 seconds. 432 would get us through in 1 minute. Normally these gas prices, I find that, they'll be around 100 or less. So you notice if someone just paid 632, they overpaid, and now they could have paid 433. So this becomes a bit of a game. And unless you're in a leverage position and you're near getting liquidated and you're panicking to get it through, I take my time with this. And like in this case, if I really had to get a transaction through, I might be aiming for the one in the middle here, the between slow and fast at 400. I also often think about 400 is a round number. It's likely that people will either bid above or below that number, or if they are bidding 400, I might want to bid a little bit higher than that. So there really becomes like a strategy of how do I outbid everyone else? This is only in extreme times like today, where there's so much demand for others to confirm their transactions in the Ethereum network that I have to do this. Most days, I look at this and I would say, there's no way in hell I'm going to do anything right now because it's so expensive. And so anyways, if we go back to my MetaMask transaction, a good example of what might happen is I look at this and I reject. There's no reason. I don't want to do a transaction right now and pay, in this case, the amount of Ether I was going to send was 0.5. That was for a trade. And then the gas fee here is 0.07, which with the USD price of Ether is $73. So I don't want to pay that. So I don't need to do that, and I'm gonna reject it. All right, let's go back here a sec. So let me check the comments a sec to see if anyone's got any questions. All right, nothing so far. Yep, nothing. Yeah, nothing so far. Okay, anyways, feel free to ask questions there. It's at tv.zapper.fi if you want to interact with me through the live stream. All right, so let's get up. Here we go. So let's go back to the agenda. So we covered what's gas, why does it matter, how to bid on gas prices. Let's talk for a moment about what happens if I bid a lower gas price and now I need to unstick it, or I need to basically get it out of the way because it's clogging up my transactions. So here's how this works. Let me go and pull up Etherscan. And I'm gonna, here we go. Let me go ahead and copy this in and then I'll reshare my screen. All right. Okay, so when you submit a transaction, shoot, I guess I should reshare my entire screen so you can see this. Okay, when I submit a transaction, there's this little thing that says nonce at the bottom. So let's go, we're back in Zapper. Let's pretend I'm gonna do this trade again. The gas prices have gone down a bit, so maybe I'm ready to put it through. And the rate here will continue to update every few seconds. So I hit exchange. Here we go. You can all see my MetaMask transaction. So now I've got 325 Gwei estimated here based on my gas settings in Zapper. The nonce here, what's going to get put through next is 3. That's basically just a way of saying the number of my transaction. Where does that number come from? If we go to my wallet here, and if we click on, these are the 3 transactions I've done previously. If we click on this one, and if we scroll down, you can see nonce 0. So that is the first transaction in my wallet. Now, if we go back and we look at that second transaction that I've actually sent out, you'll see that the nonce is 1. And then the third one should be 2. Here we go. Here we go. So that is the nonce. What happens if I submit a transaction and it is submitted at a lower gas price? is that I get stuck. So I'm going to, what I'm going to do is, this is me. I just want to like give you a live example of this. If I go here, I'm going to set the gas price to 10. Now, there's no way in hell that this is going to confirm. And so I put in a gas price of 10, and I will then, let's just double check this is all correct. Yep, Zapper, that's my wallet going into this smart contract. All right, and I'm estimated to pay $1.60. But again, going gas prices are around 300 and above. So I hit confirm. All right. And now you can see that it's pending on Zapper. And so if I go to this transaction, once this gets picked up by one of the nodes, we'll be able to see this. You'll see that it's going to estimate that it's going to take like many hours, maybe even more than a day. So I'm going to be stuck. And what I need to do now, if I go to, let's go back to my wallet and let's refresh. Okay, we'll give it a sec here. Once this shows up in my wallet, you are going to be able to see that I have a pending transaction. So currently, all 4 of these, this is someone sent me money, so it went into my wallet. And then these are 3 transactions I did from the wallet. Let's refresh one more time. Once that comes through, though, you'll see pending, and I'll be stuck. And then we can talk about how to drop or replace that transaction. What it refers to is literally dropping or replacing the transaction. You are able to bid the same transaction nonce. So what would happen here, gosh, I'm hoping this goes through here. There we go. So 17 seconds ago, this one is now pending. Many of us have been there where we have a transaction that's stuck, it's pending, and now you can't do anything because the nonce is what's holding me back here. This is number 3, and the next transaction I put through will be number 4. And so the network will not confirm that 4th transaction until this 3rd one has been completed. So let's go back. Let's go back to Zapper, and you can see gas prices are still crazy high. I bid a gas price of 10 gwei, so mine is not going to go through. So let's do this instead. This was a trade. It's very likely that this rate between ETH and 1 inch is going to change. I don't want that transaction to go through. My 30-second window has basically passed, and I would be worried about the transaction failing. So what I'll do then is let's go ahead and go to my wallet, and let's go ahead and set up a dummy transaction. So I go here to MetaMask. I'm going to hit send. We'll do, here we go. Actually, what I'll do here a sec is let me set this up to send it to my own address. Let me reshare here. All right. Okay, we're back in my wallet. All right. So let's set up a dummy transaction. What I did is I copied, my wallet address here. I'm going to hit send, and we'll send 0 Ether. Again, it's just a dummy transaction. I just want to use this to knock it out. And I'm going to double check gasnow.org or Zapper's gas meter in a second. But for right now, I'll put in 500 gwei, and I'll hit next. Now, again, this is extreme. This is an example of me knowing that I need to get this transaction out of there because I'd rather pay $10 right now to knock it out than to risk having this transaction confirmed later and lose a bunch of money because the market rate has changed for Zapper, for the Zapper exchange with 1 inch and Ether. So let's do this. Let's go back to Zapper. I'm looking at gas prices. Okay, so you can see they've come down a lot just while we've been here. So I'm going to go over to gasnow.org and let's take a look here one more time. So it looks like I could get through this transaction at 366. So even for this dummy transaction, I'm going to lower it. Notice by dropping it almost 40%, 35%, it comes down a lot here. And then look, you can see the prices keep going down. So I'll do 300 here, and let's hit confirm. And then what I just did there is I actually put in another stuck transaction. So this is what happens when you, let me go ahead and show you this a sec. So if you go to the original transaction, the nonce is 3. I need to make sure that I customize that nonce to being 3. So now you can see how these transactions are starting to stack up. Let's see if that one is showing yet. Okay, not yet there. Anyways, we're going to see 2 different pending transactions. So I want to get these out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the lowest number, the lowest like nonce that is stuck, which in this case is 3. And so let's go back. Let's do one more dummy transaction. And we'll do 0 ETH. There we go. We'll put in 300 just for now. And then I'm going to hop over to gasnow.org. All right, so at 306, let's see what it updates to. 306, 407. Again, prices are constantly changing. I can go here and let's get through this transaction. I'm going to change the nonce. So this, I want to knock out the lowest numbered transaction that's stuck, which is currently the third nonce transaction. So I go there, and then let's change the gas price to, let's do 460. So I'm watching that little orange line. All right, okay, maybe I can get it through for less here. I mean, it's just a game. So I confirm it. Now let's see if this one goes through. So I'm going to go back to my wallet. All right, so we've got 3 different transactions. The first one was the trade I tried to do that got stuck. The second one was me trying to unstick it, but I didn't change the nonce. If I don't change the nonce, then it gets stuck. And then the third one here was done correctly. So if we look here, you'll notice it says there's a pending transaction with a lower account nonce. If you go here, oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Here we go. This is the right one. There it is, 3. So this one, duplicate nonce, found another one, except this one has a gas price of 355. So this one should go through depending on what gas prices do here. We're currently at like 391. So that's it. You match, you look up the transaction, match the nonce, and then you can send it through. In this case, because it's not a life or death matter that I get that transaction through, it might take a bit longer for me, but that's how you would drop or replace that transaction. Another thing that you could do is if you're on a different DeFi application where it's not about trading, and so you're not worried about a market rate changing and your transaction later failing, you can simply resubmit the transaction. A good example is like Compound or Aave. Let's pretend I was going to lend some synthetic USD. I go in, I put in the transaction, and I set it for, I don't know, 100 Gwei. It gets stuck for one reason or another. I really want that transaction to go through. I could go and do exactly what I just did, put in a custom nonce that matches the stuck transaction, as long as that's the transaction with the lowest nonce that is stuck, and then put in this. All right, and there is my confirmed transaction from earlier. So let's go, here we go. There we go. All right, so here is the original transaction I put through. This one was dropped and replaced. That was the one that was at 10 Gwei. So that's 10 Gwei, way too low. It was dropped and replaced by another transaction with a nonce of 3. And the gas price that I was willing to pay was 355 Gwei. So we've almost, in this example, we've almost freed up my account. It's now just sitting there with this other transaction that was a dummy transaction where I didn't change the nonce. So we'll leave that for now. All right, so let's go back here and double check if there's any questions. When you're using MetaMask with Gas Now, I always save money. Okay, sorry, let me just share the comment. When using MetaMask with Gas Now, I always save money on fees. MetaMask suggested fees are always high. Why? Good question. I don't know what MetaMask uses to estimate them, but I've given up on like using those estimated fees, and I think eventually, you know, they'll be that much more accurate. I would definitely recommend checking out gasnow.org, and hopefully, if they implement that the way we just did with Zapper, I think they'll be more accurate. One of the scary realities of all of this is that I do think that the gas estimators sometimes are, you know, providing higher estimations, and so that pushes the price up. Everyone thinks that it's higher, and then folks are bidding higher prices, and it's kind of, you know, it's like a reflexive thing where it's just people are thinking it's higher and higher and bidding higher and higher gas prices. Let's go back a sec to my wallet. Here we go. Okay, so I think my other transaction just went through. All right, so we had 3 transactions, and notice that only 2 of them show up here because one of them, the original, was dropped and replaced. I don't pay any sort of fees for that. So if we were to hop over to, let me reshare that window. If we hop over to, I think this one, the one that we dropped replaced, just know that I didn't pay any fees here. So it shows maximum transaction cost fee. You can ignore this. I didn't actually pay this. I only paid the fee on the transaction that it was replaced by. So we'll go back to my wallet. That was this one here 3 minutes ago. I paid $7.37. And that is, unfortunately, this amount of Ether used to be pretty inexpensive for many of us. But now, because Ether has gone up so much in USD, it costs a bit more there. And then the last part of that was just the one that just confirmed a minute ago. This was another dummy transaction. And you can see that the nonce for this one was 4. So this one came after the one before. So that little lesson there, that trick, if you can learn how to drop and replace transactions, you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. When you see transactions stacking up as pending, it means that the lowest nonce, the oldest transaction that is still pending, is stuck. And it means that you bid too low and everyone else is paying higher prices. Checking to see if there's any other comments here I can help with. Here we go. Let's see, what's the difference between Ethernet and BEP20? Ooh, I wouldn't be able to help there. I couldn't go that like technical, but let's see. So when you send, let's go here. So when you send transactions of the same nonce as stuck transactions, it replaces the stuck transaction and cancels all the others you may have done after. Partially right. It does replace the transaction with the same nonce. It does not cancel everything after. Let's pretend that I have 10 pending stuck transactions, and let's pretend that I never customized or changed the nonce, which is a setting in MetaMask. If you go to your settings, I think it's under advanced, you can flip a switch so that you can customize nonce. Assuming that I just plugged in a bunch of transactions, every single one of those after, I'm gonna have to manually unstick it using this method. So one of the silver linings to this, though, is that hopefully if you understand what we're doing here, you should be paying attention to whether a transaction is stuck, and you shouldn't be continually submitting transactions. that is what gets that's what makes us all frustrated, as you say, what the hell's going on? All my transactions are stuck. Let's see, how is this different from speeding? Oh, good question here. How is this different from speeding up the transaction? So I don't know exactly what MetaMask does when you click speed up or when you do that in other wallets, but I never use it because I believe you can now do that. And I think it would prompt me to put in what gas price I want, but I'll just say that if it doesn't, then it's not worth it, because I'm then trying to speed up a transaction without understanding the gas price I'm bidding. And the gas price, remember, dictates how much money I'm going to pay for that fee. So I want to unstick the transaction and I want to pay as little money as possible. And that's why I like doing a dummy transaction where I send 0 Ether to my own wallet from the wallet that is stuck, and then I customize the nonce. 10% higher gas price push. Let's see. 10% higher gas price by default to push. Oh, okay. There we go. So I think this might be the answer to what happens in speeding up a MetaMask transaction. 10% higher gas by default to push new transaction through. If that's true, this is why I do dummy transactions the way I was showing. I want to make sure that, let's go back here to gasnow.org. I want to make sure that I have the most up-to-date gas prices. You know, like this thing again is updating every few seconds. And, you know, earlier, if I had bid 10% higher on, let's say, actually, let me double check I'm getting that correctly from him. 10% higher gas price by default to push it. Okay, yeah. So because I had put through such a small gas price at 10 Gwei, 10% higher wouldn't have helped me. And that's why I go here to gasnow.org just to make sure. And then conveniently, we have that now available in Zapper, so you don't even have to, but again, it's there. They should be in sync at all times. Here we go. So this thing should always be in sync with what's on gasnow.org, which I did a video on Friday, just a 15, 20-second clip showing that they are both in sync. Okay, so we've got that part taken care of. Let's see. So we talked now about how to drop replace transactions. Let's talk about ways to spend less gas in DeFi. Okay, so first off, I would say patience. It pays to be patient. Now, today is an example of gas prices are reflecting the sort of like, you know, urgency to put through transactions. There could be people who have leveraged positions that are at risk of being liquidated, and so they're willing to pay higher gas prices to unwind those positions. For those of us like me who are, I would say I'm more long and I'm in very like passive opportunities where, you know, let's say I'm staking or I'm in a liquidity provision that I'm not going to be liquidated on. I choose to just, you know, sit on the sidelines and kind of watch all of this. So I haven't done anything, at least in a day or so, once gas prices started to spike. If you go back, though, even 12 hours, gas prices were below 100. And so what goes up really quickly can come down really quickly. Let's see here. Okay, so this is Suhail from our team. Speeding up the transaction is similar to canceling, except that instead of sending 0 Ether, you resend the same transaction data with the same stuck nonce and a higher gas price. So the major difference, going back a moment to what I was showing, is I was unsticking a stuck transaction, and it was, you know, it was a trade. I don't want that trade to go through later because the market rate of that trade has probably changed and it would probably fail then. So that was the whole reason I wanted to cancel it and actually replace it. If I'm doing something like, let's say I'm staking bond on Barn Bridge, there's no risk of the transaction failing because of a market rate. I'm just staking it. It has nothing to do with the buying or selling price of bond. That would be a good example where me speeding up the transaction here, like Suhail mentioned, it would allow me then to still get the transaction through versus dropping it and then having to go back afterwards to redo the whole transaction. So you can also do this like manually if you are in something like, let's say, Barnbridge or Aave or Compound. If you are lending, if you refresh your screen, I believe in almost all instances, you can basically restart the whole transaction, and then you can set the gas price to whatever you want. But in the case of MetaMask, it's like a fixed 10% higher than what you originally put it in. All right. Okay, so we were just talking about ways to spend less gas. So first off was patience. Second, I think is understanding. Let's go back to, I like this gasnow.org website because it's just so easy to see the prices updating. You can see when we started the live stream, we were up over 500 Gwei. We're now approaching potential transactions going through between 134 Gwei and 502 Gwei. I mean, this is why you want to be patient. This is why understanding these gas prices can save you a ton of money. And so just knowing this, knowing that when you submit a transaction, let's go back to that a moment. Let me go ahead and reshare. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this once more. 0. Okay, so here's an example of me doing a trade. And we're going to see MetaMask pop up here in a sec. The thing that I'm always paying attention to is this 338 Gwei in this example. And another, I guess, part of the equation to call out here is what happens if I'm trading with ERC20 tokens. So there's a whole nother step when you use ERC20 tokens. So let me go ahead and flip wallets here, go to another wallet that's easy to show this off in. All right, and let me reshare. Okay, and actually, oops, let me flip the wallet here. Okay, now we can go back. All right, so we're on Zapper Exchange, which is a DEX aggregator, and I've connected a different wallet where I've got ERC20 tokens. So any token on Ethereum is an ERC20 token that is not Ether. And so let's say I put in 1,000 DAI. Oh, hold on a sec. Let me go ahead and refresh my screen. I might have too many wallets open right now. Here we go. I'm going to reshare my screen in just a sec here. Ah, there we go. I think this will work now. Too many tabs open. Here we go. Okay, so when I start with a token that is not Ether, notice that I have to approve spending that token. So this is different. Ether is the native token of Ethereum. I'm able to just send it. I'm able to transact with it in any DeFi application. So that's awesome. One of the ways that you can save money on gas is if you do plan to transact with Ether versus an ERC20 token, you will save yourself a transaction. But that being said, most of us end up using other tokens. So if I go to approve, you can now see that I have to allow Zapper to spend my DAI. And you'll see something similar on Compound, Aave, all the other applications. So I go to edit permission. Now, you can choose unlimited or custom. I choose to normally go with custom because my worst fear is that someone somehow gains malicious control of smart contracts in an application. And if I give unlimited spending, technically then that if someone could call those smart contracts to drain my DAI from my wallet. So this is a convenience for those who don't want to have to do this approval step in the future. It's very popular in DeFi, but I choose the custom spend limit. And then we're back to the obvious of gas prices. So MetaMask has recommended 141.9 Gwei. However, if we go to gasnow.org, you can see that it looks like my transaction could go through, understanding that these are changing literally every few seconds. It could go through at 136 in a few seconds. It could go through at 109 Gwei if the prices hold where they're at. So this is how you save money on gas. You really gotta like spend time looking at this for that moment before you submit. Now, this just jumped to 227 Gwei. If I had submitted at 140, my transaction, let's say, might have not gotten through. And I mean, maybe I have to wait a bit longer. So it's really a game. This is also a game that I look forward to no longer playing once Ethereum 2.0 is fully implemented. So we can all talk about this as a like a battle wound of the past, having been in DeFi early. All right. Let's see here. Anything else in terms of how to spend less in terms of gas? Let me check if there's any questions here. Let's see. Thoughts on L2 like XDAI, since it isn't up yet, implementing Qi for DeFi apps. I can't speak to XDAI, but I do recognize that there's more interest in building applications on XDAI. I'm not quite, I'm always wondering like whether XDAI can be successful long-term with everything going on with ETH2 and then with all of the layer 2 tech that's coming to apps like Curve is using ZK Sync. You've got Loopring, which already uses ZK rollups. Synthetics is going to roll out on Optimism soon. And DYDX, I think, is building with Starkware. So anyways, it's really interesting, though. I've used XDAI before with PowerPool, and it was awesome. You know, I paid like next to nothing. So we'll see. Let's see. Taking blah, blah, blah. Your thoughts on L2, like X? Oh, that's the same thing. One thing I want to touch on is if you end up using 1inch, 1inch uses this gas token called Qi. So let me just pull that up a moment. This is yet another way before we hop into something like Loopring. Let's see. I'm gonna share my screen in just a moment here. Okay. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this because I'm just not that knowledgeable of it, but I have used this with 1inch in the past. So 1inch is another very popular DEX aggregator. I think they've done more volume than any other DEX aggregator on Ethereum. So if you go to 1inch.exchange and you click on settings, there's this thing that says activate Qi. So Qi is it's another token. It is a type of gas token, and you can think of it this way. It's kind of like when you buy Qi, it's like buying, it's like prepaying your gas for the future. So this is a token that I would hold in my wallet, and if I activate this, when I use 1inch, or if I use any application that uses Qi, what they do is they spend the Qi token. I think the proper way to say it is they actually burn it. But anyways, that Qi token that you would have in your wallet, let's say I did a transaction, and in this case, if I did, let's say if I did 100 1-inch for some Aave token here. The estimated Ethereum network fee is 0.08 Ether. If I'm using Chi, if I have that in my wallet and I've bought some of that on, I could buy Chi on 1-inch, I could buy it on Uniswap, it will help me to save. It will end up lowering the cost of my transaction. So anyways, that's Chi. If you look it up, shoot, I should have shown it here. Chi. Oh, that's right. I do have some Chi. Hold on a sec. Oh, it's like finding like $1 in your couch, except in DeFi. Here we go. So you can see here, I've got the Chi token, and anyways, you can buy it through any DEX aggregator, 1-inch, Zapper exchange, whatever. Once you've got that though, if you're using 1-inch, I would highly recommend you activate just go here to your settings and activate it. It'll save you some money on future transactions. So, okay. So we've covered quite a bit there in terms of how to save. I think the last most obvious thing that we should be talking about is Loopring. So this is, let's share my screen and show you what a DEX looks like on L2. So this is built with ZK rollups. Go ahead and I'm just double checking to make sure the right wallet is connected here. Yep. All right, gonna reshare. Oh, by the way, someone asked, does it cost gas to activate Chi? Yes, it does. It'll cost you, I think, the same as like doing an approval transaction. So just be aware of that. When I was showing that activate Chi in the settings, it's going to be a transaction I'm going to have to do. Let's see, Loopring. All right. So here's Loopring. Loopring has an AMM, so an automated market maker like Uniswap or SushiSwap or Curve, but it also has a closed order book. So you can go here, and what's required if you want to trade on Loopring is you basically have to create an account, which is a single transaction. They've reduced the amount of ETH it costs by, I think, 1/10. And it's not like you're paying like a fee to Loopring. It's just what it costs for you to create an account that is on layer 2 that you can use with Loopring. So think of Loopring is still an exchange where you're always in control of your assets. And if you look here, like let's say, actually, let's just go to the swap here because it's easier. And let's see if I've got any tokens still in here. Oh, sorry, I got to unlock it. Here we go. So I've already done this, but if you've never used Loopring, that would be the first step. Is it'll prompt you to create an account. If you use DeFi Dad, just all capital letters, it'll get you, I think it'll still get you 40% off on taker orders. There's no kickback to me. It's just a code they made. They were nice enough to make it so that we could let more people save money. So anyways, if you want to use that, it'll save you 40% on taker orders, and then on maker orders on the closed order book, it's 0. You pay 0% on maker orders. So back on the swap here, I've got 1.138 LRC. So let's pretend I'm going to trade that for ETH. The one thing here is I don't have enough LRC on there, so that's too bad. Order amount's too small, but let's do this instead. Actually, and I'm going to reshare. I want to reshare so you can see MetaMask when I do this, because it's really awesome. Makes life really easy. All right. Okay. So let's hop into the pool. I actually added some liquidity to a pool a few days ago. So the LRC ETH pool, just like an AMM like Uniswap, you can be a liquidity provider. So I'm going to remove some of that liquidity. Let's remove 50% of it. So I will remove that, and I'm going to receive 300 LRC and 0.08 ETH. Okay, so here's how easy it is to use. You hit remove, and it's done. That's it. So liquidity removed. That's all. There's nothing else I need to do, because what I've done is I've moved my funds from layer 1 to layer 2. So it's incredibly powerful to use this because it's stupidly easy. The reason I like to use something like Loopring for doing trades is that if I'm going to keep those funds there, if I'm not planning to be moving them in and out of layer 2, which is the costly part of this, or the more costly part compared to paying pennies, then I can benefit from all of this. So what I just did there, let's go to my transactions. So I removed liquidity. You can see I removed this many LP tokens. And then I want to actually show how much I paid in that, like how much I paid in terms of fees. So give me just 1 second here. Okay. So here's an example. This was a short time ago. Yeah, the 5th and the 7th of January. So I traded, I think it was 500 LRC for some ETH. Yeah, that's it. I did it on the AMM. You can see I paid 0.00001 ETH. So the last time I checked, that was pennies at the time. I think it was like 1.5 pennies or 1 cent. So really awesome stuff. If you're looking to trade, I would highly recommend come here, check out all the different markets they have. Loopring grew to a little over 100 million in total value locked recently between the AMM and the closed order book decks here. I'd say the only drawback to this is, this is still growing in liquidity. So just, be aware, like you want to look at the different markets here before you actually execute depositing money. Because like, let's say, for example, let's say you wanted to trade XYZ token. If that market is new and there isn't a whole lot of liquidity, let me see if I can find one here. I don't know if Curve is up now. If you find a market that doesn't have as much trading activity, it might not be worth depositing money, because then you're not going to be able to execute a trade here. So anyways, check that out. The swap is new. It's the first AMM that's built on layer 2. And then the other thing to note here is you pay 0.15% fee on all trades proportional to your, LPs are paid 0.15% fee on all trades proportional to their share of the pool. So this is 0.3% on Uniswap. It's 0.15% here. Anyways, this also is not meant to, I don't think these are all meant to be competitive with like a Uniswap or other AMMs. There's a lot of composability to having everything on layer 1 right now, but this being on layer 2 is incredibly powerful. So I would check that out. All right. Let's see. If you are checking to see if there's anything else here. Well, I think we've nearly covered everything. We just talked a bit more about how to spend less gas, which the final point there leads into really the future, which is applications that are built on layer 2. And then of course we have ETH 2.0. If you want to learn more about ETH 2.0, there's an episode we did recently of Yield TV with Superfizz, who is very knowledgeable of ETH 2 and how to be a validator. And then I'd highly recommend checking out Bankless. There's lots of topics there. Check out the Defiant News. And then lastly, there's a DeFi 101 series that we just published through the Defiant News. It's 30 shorts that I wrote for them about all sorts of different fundamental topics. And there's one all about layer 1 versus layer 2. So it's like 3 or 4 minutes and really digestible. I think other than that, just heads up that, there is a lot coming here in 2021 with layer 2. So for example, if you look here, go ahead and switch to Rinkeby. And I'm going to change wallets here. Okay, here we go. Going to reshare. Okay, so we are connected to Rinkeby testnet, and this is, let me see if, there we go. So we're in Rinkeby testnet. This is the Curve AMM rebuilt on ZK Sync. So this is layer 2 technology. So you can see I've got, these are testnet tokens, so this isn't real, but it's cool. So I've got USDC on testnet, and I'm going to trade it for Tether. And so let me just make sure that I'm, yep, Rinkeby. Okay, good. All right, so I hit sell, and I hit confirm, and I hit sign. So I just did all of that, and I'm going to have spent 2 cents in this case. So I did that. We go back, and now you can see I have 210 USDT or Tether. So that trade, I mean, would normally cost you at least, I would say, like $10 today, just because of how high gas prices are. So this is how powerful layer 2 is going to be for Ethereum. It's really going to remove it's going to help us to get past this bad memory of having to navigate gas prices and pay higher fees on days like today. All right. I think that just about covers it. So unless there's any other questions, appreciate all the good questions here. And forgive me, there were definitely a few there I just couldn't get to and help answer. But yeah, everyone. So tomorrow we will be back with another episode of Yield TV. Tomorrow will be at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking with Beeple and Tim Kang, who goes as illustrator. Tim Kang is a collector, and hopefully you've heard of Beeple by now. He's really he's the highest earning crypto artist. He creates digital art every day, and he's been doing it, I think, for like 5,000 days now. So like, I think way over 10 years. And anyways, his art has sold for as much as $777,777 recently on Nifty Gateway. So illustrator Tim Kang is the one who actually bought that piece. And yeah, just really excited to like learn from the two of them. They're both really entertaining and incredibly talented. And I think it'll help folks to better put into context like why crypto art is probably, in my opinion, going to replace the legacy art world over the coming decades. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. And just a quick reminder to subscribe at tv.zapper.fi. Everything I showed you today on Zapper, you can try that at zapper.fi. And if you have questions, feel free to comment on this video afterwards, but also feel free to comment on the post we put up on Twitter. We'll try to get to everyone's questions there. And that's about it. So yeah, we'll see everyone tomorrow for the interview with Beeple and Illustrator. And everyone have a safe day. And I hope the markets stop being so bloody. So thanks, everyone. Bye.